and food and beverage theme, we welcome back Mr. Stefan Breg from Keane Consult.
Thank you so much. Wow, 3 o'clock, day 3 o'clock. Thank you for hanging around, sticking around to listen to us. Would you like more stats, or would you like to see a video? All right, let's play the video, please. Wanted to show you a video on the future of dining because those things are real, those things are happening. We are working on many of those initiatives that you see. A little bit less metaverse, you'll be pleased to know, because that could really destroy all of our businesses, right? But everything you see on there is real. We work a lot in Saudi and Saudi Arabia, and we're often asked, are the projects real? Because they're unbelievable, right? But they're very real. And this future of dining, I don't see it so much in the hotel sector. We're a little slow. You know, I've been in hotels for 20, 30 years, a little bit resistant to change, and so some of this stuff has to happen. There's been some discussions during the event on outsourcing. You might have heard the panel a while ago. You'll have heard also Manav open the whole conference on outsourcing. Next slide, please, guys. You've heard him also speak about outsourcing. So a couple of thoughts, if I may, on outsourcing, because I've done this frighteningly since like 1996 was the first time I outsourced a restaurant in a hotel in the UK. So some thoughts on outsourcing. It can be highly effective. You've all heard the good stories, right? The profit that they've made from outsourcing. But one thing's for sure, it's generally expensive. The franchise fee is high. There are fees to pay. The capital cost will be higher. Of course it will be. The specification, the restaurant they're building will be higher. So be cautious. It will cost you more. The returns generally are higher. You don't hear about the failures. Careful, and there are failures. So approach with caution. As you'd expect from me, get advice when you do it. But the root of changing F&B isn't by using third parties. It's talent. First piece is thinking, sure, but it's talent. Bring the talent in, and it will help. And if you like, a catalyst for F&B change in many ways is to rethink your F&B. Don't use the same people. Your chef's great, your F&B manager's great. Ask other people. Consultants maybe, but ask other people to get a fresh approach. Build an F&B strategy. Look for the gap in the market. Gustavo has the kind of technology where you can find that gap in the market. And in UAE, we joke, we always get the suggestion, building the Indian restaurant because there isn't one. Well, it may be because there's no demand for an Indian or an Italian or a Chinese restaurant. Be very careful, a gap in the market doesn't mean when there's nothing there that you want to happen, right? In addition, secure that talent, internal, external, consultants, designers, etc. But if there's one message you'll get from these slides, be bold. I think it's in the subcontinental nature to be a little reserved, a little bit humble, Be bold, don't hold back in your F&B development. Okay, because either way, if you do hold back, the guests will notice. If you're overconfident, they'll see that as well. Be confident, your guests will notice that. What you're going to hear from me today, and the bulk of this presentation, is future dining's trends, as you heard, what your guests are saying. We commissioned some research. We actually paid for something. So we asked 500 people within the 4 cities in this fine country about their thoughts about hotel F&B dining. And we think we found a little gap. We might be wrong. We're not specialists in India. We might be wrong, but have a look in about 10 minutes and see if you agree with me or not. So what are your guests saying? This is what surprised us. Now, when we asked a number of questions, we thought we were going to get the rather dark picture that Manav described to you, that most of the people on this stage have described about hotel F&B. But actually, check this out. 500 people, mixed gender, 4 main cities. The quality of food is better in a hotel. That's a big number. We did not expect that. Service is better in a hotel restaurant, resoundingly. I am as surprised as you are, but this is positive, right? And check this out. Hotels offer greater value. Wow, you just heard this discussion about the margin. Margin could be price, the Tarek, but look at this. These are resoundingly positive messages, and there's more. So what drives choice in dining? Now, let me go back. Let me explore that for a moment, because what I'm wondering here is that why then does F&B underperform? Are the respondents being polite? Maybe. Or do they have an aspiration that they want to show that they can afford hotels and use hotel F&B, but actually in practice they don't? So there's something missing. We'll have to do a panel, I think, to probe deeper, but we were astonished by that. And good piece of news to take home, I think, in many ways. We also asked them, what drives your choice? Because we heard about some fancy franchises, some fancy chefs, but look at this. What stood out in this data was that international celebrity chefs, which is the Dubai formula, right, which I started 20 years ago with many fancy chefs coming in, that's not going to work here. Gordon Ramsay, Ducasse, Pierre Garnier, it's not going to really work here, judging by the numbers that you're seeing on the screen. At the highest interest is international brands, and of course, reassuringly, local brands, local chefs. So that's a good balanced picture in many ways, and probably more balanced than we see when we look internationally. Okay, where's the gap in the market? This is just as a quick pass and a very a quick assessment, if you like, of the market. I haven't worked here long enough to be an expert. I was working here 10, 15 years ago. Now I'm back. This is what we found, is that when we asked this question, we spotted a very high level of interest in boring stuff, right? Which is to reach a hotel and park. Bang. The next question was this one here. For women, safety and security scored top 4. We've never seen it score that high. That is an opportunity. We knew it would be quality, service. We knew it would be cuisine, experience, but safety and security, right, okay. So we're going to explore that X factor, if I may. When we looked at women in the industry, we weren't surprised by this. I think we kind of knew this was the case, that there is a low proportion of female workers within the sector. It varies, interestingly, regionally, but really pleased to see IHCL talking about increasing their female proportion as well moving forward. Also, we were struck by a lot less chefs, and I think we understand the reason why. It's not a unique problem in India. These are problems we also see in the Middle East as well, or challenges, shall we say. And also they're not paid enough as well. There's a pay disparity between female and male chefs. And yet, McDonald's, and I'm a quick service guy. I have a huge respect for fast food, quick service, have it in my veins. They employ an awful lot of women, and there's career progression as well. So the X factor got us thinking in some ways. We also looked at female GMs, 10% in India. It's lower. It's lower than most places in the world. So some work to be done there. So have we inadvertently somehow found a gap in the market? You know, as an F&B strategist, you'd expect me to say you should use international consultants, right, to find the right answer. Pay the premium. Man, this conference opened with Manav saying you guys should use more international consultants. But yeah, we have a suspicion that X factor is how India can aim high. And I think you heard us on the panel earlier. And I wasn't planning to ask the question, but I asked the question, where does India sit, they think, in the Premier League of global dining? And how fast can it get up to the leaders, London, New York, Paris, Sydney? How long will that take? I didn't get an answer, which is the first time I've never had an answer to that question. And that's peculiar. And I think it's because, cultural, I don't know, aim high, but actually aim even higher than that. I think India could be a global leader. You have the resources, you have the talent, you have that natural inborn hospitality, that warmth. So why don't you aim to be global leader and match the aspiration that you heard Sebastian Bazin talk about in our call when he's talking about signing the deals. I think for me, aim higher, India, because I think you can achieve it. It will take time. You will need to open up, I think, to ideas from the outside as a catalyst for that. But I think you have the real potential. So, gap in the market, maybe you may disagree with us, but we think women, large proportion of the population, will use hotel F&B if it's safe, with easy parking, with valet. If they're served by other women, that might make them feel more comfortable. And also, those concepts, you know, we get a lot of briefs for very male-looking concepts. Steak, cigar, whiskey. We need some female-friendly concepts. I don't want to be patronizing, but Keane, way back in history, before I joined, did a bar in the UK called All Bar One in the kind of 90s, and then pubs for men, mostly. All Bar One fixed that, and they grew to 300-400 pubs. And what they did, windows, no game machines, bright lights or brighter lights, female-friendly. I hate the phrase, but female-friendly. And that changed the dynamic of pubs in the UK. So I think we need to change the design process when we design concepts to be less male-oriented. So how do we change that concept development process? That's going to take some time. It needs buy-in from stakeholders, from owners, from the operators, from designers, from consultants. They all need to buy into the more balanced approach to an F&B portfolio and mix. And in fact, when we create concepts, we use a degree of science. We make sure we map out the concepts of the user groups that are going to come in there and try and achieve probably the hardest thing that each of the consultants you've seen before me today, to anticipate their future dining behavior, which I think is how I opened the presentation. So I'm left with 1 minute of questions, and thank you for your time. Looks like I'm getting scot-free. There's a hand up here. I can't ask you, Rohit, because that guy was first. Please. I'll repeat your question.
Which language was the survey asked?
Really? That's a fascinating question. I don't know. Judging by the income groups, it didn't matter, but I will check that. That's a fascinating question. Thank you. I meant that. Rohit.
I mean, I saw a lot. I'm in the F&B space, obviously. I saw a lot of those videos, but as a consumer, none of that resonated. I don't want to go to any of those dining experiences. I feel like it's too out there, and I want to go to a restaurant.
No. These are just sound bites. We did the same way on the panel, mate. I think the thinking is, why are they saying that and then behaving differently? Let's probe deeper, right? They're saying, unquestionably, this was a good firm that pulled the data together, that they support hotel F&B. Doesn't mean they're going there. The frequency figures were much lower. So I think what's happening is they aspire to a better dining experience, but actually they can't afford it, or to some other barrier. So I don't know, Robbie, it keeps us awake at night, but we were really surprised by that. Thanks for the question. Any more questions, guys? Good, well, thank you for your time and enjoy your break.